We're back with the M50 today. Today we're going to be going over some settings so that you can get the best pictures possible. Let's jump right into it. We're going to be talking about the perfect settings for scenery, landscape, the perfect settings for single portraits, still photography, and also group photos. All of which are a little different, but once you understand the basics, you'll be able to switch back and forth, and you won't have to worry too much about missing a shot, and you'll be able to capture the best photo possible. Let's jump right into it. First, I want to talk about all of the different settings of the camera. A interchangeable lens system camera has a lot of settings that can be changed manually. I really would encourage you to play with the settings at your own leisure and experiment as much as you can with the camera before going out and committing to taking some photos, because the last thing that you want is to go out there and start taking photos only to realize a day later when you're importing or exporting these photos that none of them came out good. The fail-safe setting that I like to have everybody on, especially as a beginner photographer, is AV mode. AV mode gives you control of the aperture, and it sets the other two exposure settings to automatic so the camera can do it for you. We'll talk a little bit about what different aperture sizes means and the different aperture number means. But if you're a beginner, stick with AV mode. Don't go to TV or program mode, or let alone manual mode. Stick with AV, and all of your photos, for the most part, are going to turn out really, really awesome. The only difficulty really is when setting the aperture is when you're taking photos of multiple people in the same photo. You're going to want to increase the aperture to get more of the people's faces in focus. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But for the most part, stick with AV, stick between the lowest available f-stop for the lens and in between 2.8. And I don't think that you're going to be disappointed. You're going to get some really awesome photos if you stick to those simple rules. So you may notice here that this is not the kit lens. This is the Sigma 1.4 contemporary lens. This is one of my favorite lenses for the EFM mount. It's a 16 millimeter, and with the crop sensor, it turns it into closer to a 24 millimeter, which is just a great focal length. And it's nice and wide so that you're able to get more context in your photos. We're going to be talking about 4 different styles of photos. The first one is going to be scenery. The second one is going to be a portrait for a single person. The third one is group photos with multiple people in them. And the last one, the easiest one, I think, is for static subjects. So talking about the first one, scenery. For scenery, I have the camera set for all 4 of these different types of pictures in AV mode. AV mode is the best setting to have when you're first getting into photography. It lets you set the aperture, and the camera does all of the other 2 exposure settings. In a camera, there are 3 different types of exposure settings that you have to set manually, or you can set it automatically depending on your settings. Those 3 exposure settings are the shutter speed, the ISO, and the aperture. AV mode is aperture priority, which puts you in control of the aperture, and it lets the camera set the ISO and set the shutter speed. I think that this is the best mode for beginner photographers because it gives you a lot of flexibility with the aperture that gives you some nice blurred background, which a lot of people really enjoy. And I think it makes for a better photograph where you don't have to mess with all of the other settings. So now that we've established that you should be in AV mode, the aperture priority, let's talk first a little bit about what the f-stop means, which is the aperture. The aperture is measured in f-stops. So the lower that the f-stop is, like for example f1.4 in the case of this lens, means that the more light that is hitting the sensor. The bigger the number of f-stop, like f8 to f16, the smaller the aperture is, which lets in less light. So to recap, the lower aperture number of 1.4 will give you an incredibly blurry background and a lot of separation from the subject and the background. The higher the f-stop number is, all the way up to f8 to f16, the more of the image that's going to be in focus. Because of that, you're going to be getting a lot less light, and you're going to have to hold the camera a lot more steady to make sure that the image isn't blurry. I personally prefer to have the lowest number f-stop possible, anywhere between the lowest f-stop available. In this lens specifically, that's 1.4. So I would stay at a number of f1.4 all the way up to f2.8 for scenery. If you're mounting this camera onto a tripod, then you can get away with shooting at f8 to f11 when you push down the shutter, and the camera will stay as still as possible so you can capture more of the scene in focus. The f-stop setting for scenery, like I said, I would be anywhere between the lowest available aperture for the lens and the camera, which would be 1.4 for this lens, and I would be between f1.4 and f2.8. The max that I would go on this camera and lens combo is about 5.6, f5.6. I'll post the pictures up here so you can see a little bit of the difference of what happens when you increase the f-stop and decrease the f-stop. Now let's talk about single person portraits. If you're doing photography of an individual person, the f-stop that you're going to want to be at is about f2.8 and f2. f2 and f2.8 is going to let you capture more of the face in focus, and what you're really looking to have in focus is the person's eye. You don't want to focus on the nose, because f2 and f2.8 is a narrow depth of field where the tip of the nose may be in focus, but the rest of the face is out of focus. So what you're looking for is the eye to be in focus. Now, the next shooting style is going to be for multiple people. When you have multiple groups of people, you'd like to have them all on the same focal plane. So you don't want to have people staggered on top of each other. You'd like to have people all on the same focus plane. To get a nice, decent photo with multiple people, 2, 3, or 4 people, you're going to want to be between f4 and f6.3. That's going to give you a nice depth of field so you can get more people in focus at the exact same time. If you go to f1.4 or a much lower f-stop, you're only going to get one person in focus, and then the rest of the people in the group are going to be out of focus. And that's not what you want with group photos. So anywhere between f4 and f6.3 is going to be ideal. Again, I'll put some images here so you can see the differences that I'm talking about. And the last style of photos are going to be static photos. And for static photos, it really doesn't matter what it is that you're going to be wanting to have in focus or the f-stop. I personally like to have, for static photos, the lowest f-stop possible, or anywhere between the lowest and about f2.8. So real quick to recap, my favorite f-stop is between the lowest available f-stop for that lens. In this case, it's f1.4 and f2.8. So if I'm out in the city and I'm out with people and I'm doing street photography, or I'm doing any kind of photography, I usually live between f1.4 and f2.8 for about 90% of my shots. The only time that I increase the f-stop to about f4 to f6.3 is when I'm taking photographs of multiple people in the same frame. Share your thoughts down in the description below. Consider giving this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It really helps out the channel and it helps get this video out to more people. I really appreciate all of your time, guys. Adios.